So let's start speaking about Python functions. First functions in general and then Python functions. This is part of this first course in basic Python programming, and we are now in this unit, unit 4, about writing your own functions in Python. Numeration might change in the future a little bit, but the name of the session will still be the same one. We have it here, and the first thing that we have to say about functions is that they are very related to the mathematical concept of function. Okay, they are the translation of that concept to programming. You might remember from your calculus classes in high school or at university functions like the cosine function, or polynomials are also functions. Here you have a couple of examples. We can even consider functions matrices. Matrices are a way to express some linear functions. Okay, so I can see functions as a bunch of numbers set in a matrix, and that implicitly, if I consider that I'm then going to multiply them by a matrix of variables, then a matrix with numbers is also going to mean for me a function. This is not going to be relevant anytime soon for us, but it is the basis of lots and lots of calculations that are done nowadays in Python, for example, for deep learning. So these things that we are speaking about are used at many levels and in many programming instances. Okay. Why are we doing functions? I said before that we want to organize our code a little bit more. That's not the only thing that we want to do. We want to make our code a little bit more abstract. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that for a certain function, if we know what it does, for example, this is a very precisely defined behavior. Okay, I give you a variable named x, and you return me this transformation of the value of x. You square it, and then you add 23 to it. In our Python functions, we will have similar behavior. We will give our function some parameters, and it will return some transformation of those parameters, something that has to do with those parameters. But notice here that I'm not saying how it will do that transformation, how the result of the function will be achieved. I'm defining what we call the function interface. The input of the functions, what parameters will it have, and the output, what will it do. So, by referring to functions by this interface, by their functionality, but what they do, we are making our code more abstract and also more modular. We are breaking our code into pieces that we don't necessarily know how they work, but that they do something that we need for our code. This would make it easier to share code. Maybe I don't need to know all the details of the functions that I'm using if I know what they do, if I know their interface. We want to make our code more abstract and get ourselves away for a little bit about how we are doing things and think about what we are doing. And we want to make it more reusable and modular. Reusable means that we can give pieces of our code to someone else, and if they are neatly encapsulated, neatly closed down inside of a function, that will make it much more easy. And if our code is made of pieces that I can reorder, that I can give away, we call that a modular code. Okay, this is a little bit abstract, of course. This is the main motivation for what we are doing. But we are not here to talk about abstract concepts, we are here to code. So let's get to that. How do I define a function in Python? Well, short answer, we use the def result function. You cannot use def to name variables, for example. It will complain. because def is reserved to tell Python that I'm going to define, that's where the def comes from, a function. So I use def, I use a function name, and then I use some parameters. I end the interface part of my function with a colon, okay, 2 dots, and then I have some code that defines what my function does. I said at the beginning of this lesson that I'm going to want to know how to do functions so I can make my code cleaner, organize it. That's the way I organize it. I take a piece of my code and enclose it inside of a function, encapsulate it inside of a function. Okay, and then usually I have this other special word, return, that gives back to the piece of the code that is using this function the value that that function has computed. Okay, if we went back there, the parameter here would be just the x, the code would be this one, compute this and put it in a variable, and then we would return that variable.